I say obvious. If you are Reformed, you hold to fide as defined by the Reformers, correct? Define it for me.
I guess faith, I guess I would just use the Hebrews 1 definition, which I guess for me kind of boils down to
Hebrews
knowledge,
1,
trust, and assent.
11, right? 11%.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that boils down to knowledge, trust, and assent.
Not really if you continue reading the rest of the chapter. Since you open up with Hebrews 11, read for me 30 to 31.
Let's see.
So I know you're not unprepared for my arguments because you commented in the very section where I uploaded this
Right.
book of mine, which is part 1 of many. I haven't finished it, but you were anxious to put me in my place. So read Hebrews 11, 30, 31 for me.
By faith, Rahab the prostitute did not perish with those who were
30 to
disobedient.
31. 30 to 31.
32, okay.
30 and 31. Hebrews 11, 30 to 31.
By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they had been encircled for 7 days.
Louder so we can hear you. By what?
By faith, yes.
So what brought down the walls of Jericho?
That would be faith.
And what is faith here? Simply mental assent and trust? What is faith here?
I'm not really sure what your point is.
Well, you better know what my point is because you said you read my post. You should know what my point is. So let's try.
See, the problem with your post is, Sam, the problem with your post is you concede that in James 2:24 faith means faith.
I'm getting to James 2 because Hebrews 11:31 ties in with James 2.
Well, that's the entire point, right?
So let's try this again. So you're talking over me. Calm yourself down because you went to Hebrews 11. I'm using the very chapters you're using. You brought up Hebrews 11. I want you to explain verse 30. What was their faith that brought down the walls of Jericho? Was it mental assent and trust?
I really am not sure where you're going with this.
I'm going to ask you a third time. You don't need to worry about where I'm going with this. What was their faith in the verse? The verse is in front of you. You appeal to Hebrews 11 that brought down the walls of Jericho.
I mean, I'm perfectly fine using my definition of faith to say, by faith, the walls of Jericho fell down. I mean, obviously they were faithful.
The faith that brought down the walls of Jericho, their mental assent and trust, or was their faith more than that? What is faith here?
I mean, I don't really.
You really had the audacity to challenge me? All right, now read 31. Let's see, 31.
Sam, this is just ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Let's not appeal to emotion. You were talking about a tough game. Go to 31, please.
By faith, she did not perish with those who were disobedient because she had given a friendly welcome to the spies.
Okay, so what did Rahab do? By faith, she gave safe haven to the spies, right?
Right.
Now go to James 2, 24 to 26. See what James says that faith is. See, now Hebrews called it faith, right? By faith, right?
Right.
What he did was faith. What she did, right?
What she did was work. She did a work acting in faith.
No, that's not what Hebrews 11:31 says. Don't add to the text. What does the text say?
It said, by faith, this happened.
So what she did was called.
She did it by faith. She did it by faith.
Faith.
The action was not faith.
Okay, so no.
The action was by faith.
Brian, you're trying hard. I know, it's okay. Breathe. What her action is called faith. By faith. Now read James 2, 24 to 26.
Okay, first of all, I'm not sure how you're equating by faith.
24, 26. Don't go to James 2:20. You wanted to go to James 2:24 to 26.
Okay. You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone.
Slowly and loud.
You see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. In the same way, was not also Rahab the prostitute justified by works when she received the messengers?
That when you were emphasizing by?
Mm-hmm.
By works. So here, what does James call her faith?
He doesn't call her faith a work. That's not what's going on here. You're using two different forms of justification here, Sam.
You're in the verse in front of you. What Hebrews said was faith. James called it what? Read it again.
James calls the work that she did by faith a work.
You're not hearing my
I'm not sure how that's so hard to grasp.
pretend you're hearing my question for the third time. Let's pretend you're hearing my question. I'm going to try it a third time. James 2:25 called what she did works, right? By works.
What she did, yes, was a work.
Okay. And what did he say? By works, right?
Yes.
What did Hebrews 11:31 call those works?
It said they were by faith. It didn't call them faith. It said they were by faith.
Okay. Do you want me to send you back to your basement? Because you're not getting the point. Because what Hebrews says is faith is what James defined as being faithful, because the faith that saves is being faithful, i.e. obeying, i.e. doing. Which point you don't get.
So why don't you show me how the Hebrews 11:1 doesn't contradict that?
I did, 30-31, because I didn't just read.
No, how does Hebrews 11:1 not then contradict Hebrews 11:31?
Hebrews 11:1 end at 1, or does it continue all the way to verse 40?
I'm asking you your interpretation of.
Does Hebrews 11:1 end at verse 1, or does it continue all the way to 40?
Of course, it continues to verse 30. That's
why don't you continue reading the rest of the chapter, where then he explains what that faith is? For example,
because he explains in verse 1 what it is.
Hebrews 11. Bro, I'm about to send you back, and you're a waste of time, because Hebrews 11:1 continues to unpack what that faith is. So go to Hebrews 11:8-10 for me. Yeah, this is going to be a short-lived stream. You're wasting my time. Talking tough in the comment section, but go ahead. Hebrews 11:8-10.
By faith, Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going.
Keep going. To 10.
By faith, he went to live in the land of promise, as in a foreign land, living in tents with Isaac and Jacob, heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God. Okay,
so when you're telling me what does Hebrews 11:30-31 have to do with it, it has everything to do with verse 1, because verse 1 continues to then break down what that faith is that pleases God. It is a working faith. It is being faithful to do what God requires. And now in Hebrews 11:8-10, when did Abraham exhibit that faith that God rewarded? Because if you go to Hebrews 11 verse 6, what does God do for those who have that true faith? Read Hebrews 11:6 for me.
And without faith, it is impossible to please him, for whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him.
So if you have that kind of faith, God rewards you, right?
Right.
With what? What is the reward that God gives those who believe he exists and that he is?
Righteousness.
Life, right?
Credited. Yeah, righteousness is credited to him.
Well, then in Hebrews 11:8-10, as an illustration of this point, to illustrate this point of verse 6, that here are people who exhibited that faith that God rewards, that faith that pleases God. When did Abraham had that faith that God rewarded for immortal life? When did he have it?
When did he have that faith?
According to Hebrews 11, verses 8-10.
He had it when he was called to go to a place that was, he received it when he didn't receive it then, but he had it when he obeyed and was called to go out to a place that he was to receive as an inheritance.
Excellent. So we see
can I cut in here real quick? Can I cut in here real quick? So I feel like the thing that you're missing here is that it's the faith that's rewarded here. It's not the faith and the action.
Stop what you feel and start proving from Scripture. So you didn't even let me finish the point. So I don't care.
Well, I feel comfortable proving that, but I feel like you're just going to talk for the next hour.
You can't prove it, because in Genesis 12, you just admit, keep laughing like a demon and manifest, and I'm going to muzzle you. So respect yourself, little man, young man. Okay. In Genesis 12, Abraham already had faith that pleased God, which God rewarded. You admit that. So then in Genesis 15, because this is one of your proof texts that you Protestants like to hammer out of context. In Genesis 15:6, when it says Abraham believed Jehovah and it was counted to him for righteousness, which is the passage that Paul quotes, which you guys misinterpret to your shame, like Luther did. And sadly, I used to believe that as well. Now that's Genesis 15, that's years later. So before Genesis 15 and that declaration, you just admit to everyone heard you, it's recorded, Abraham had the faith that pleased God, resulting in God rewarding him with immortal life in Genesis 12. So what's happening in Genesis 15? What is God rewarding there? What kind of faith is he rewarding?
In Genesis 15, is that where it says Abraham believed God?
I just read that, yeah.
Right.
What
So
kind of faith is God rewarding? If you already admit that he had the faith that pleases God, resulting in God rewarding him with immortal life in Genesis 12, because 15 is years later.
he's rewarding his belief.
What kind of faith is it? You're not answering the question.
Well, I'm confused. He already had this kind of faith before in Genesis 12, but he's rewarding the faith.
Hebrews 11
He's rewarding this. He's rewarding this knowledge, trust, and assent type of faith in Genesis 15.
No, that's not what Hebrews said. It says by faith he obeyed. It's an obedient.
Well, I was talking about Genesis 15, so we're talking about two different things right now. But
no, we're not. Ryan, we're not. We're trying to show that the Bible doesn't contradict when we read in context. You went to Hebrews 11. I quoted Hebrews 11, 8-10, which you admit that faith that Abraham had was already rewarded by God with immortal life. And the context says it's a faith that's active. It is obedience. It is being faithful. So this is why I asked you the question. What kind of faith did Abraham exhibit in Genesis 15? Simply mental assent? Or was it a life of obedience to God?
In Genesis 15 alone? It just says he believed God in this one particular instance.
Go back and do some more studying go back and do some more studying in biology. You're a joke. See? And he left. See, you know. And this is the guy that was calling me out. Anyway, guys, this was short-lived. You can't prove it because in Genesis 12, you just admit, keep laughing like a demon and manifest, and I'm going to muzzle you. So respect yourself, little man, young man. Okay.